Hey, what's up, guys? I hope everybody's doing well. I got a question from a subscriber, and I got to tell you, it was a good question, and it made me laugh because we've all been there, and I wanted to share the question with you. The guy's name, I think it was Trinity, but he asked me, he's like, hey, man, I have been showing up and doing estimates at people's lawns, and I get there, and then, the yard is total garbage, and, I don't know what to say to tell them, I don't want to do your yard. How do you work through, telling them that basically you don't want to take on their property? And man, I totally get it. I've been there. I guess I'd kind of forgot about it because it just becomes easier over time. But in this video, I want to give everybody a few of the white lies that I tell clients, and then also some questions that I ask on the phone to kind of pre-qualify them. So stay tuned. I think you're going to enjoy this video. Okay, so when we talk about pre-qualifying clients over the phone, whenever they call up and they're initially wanting that estimate, whenever you get the property address, you should go ahead and be asking a couple questions, okay? And the first one that you should ask is, when was the last time the yard was cut? And the second size is what size property it is. Because if it's an issue of you showing up and you only like a certain size property, there's no reason for you to even drive out there and put eyes on the property if you are only taking 5,000 to 8,000 square foot lawns, because that's your ideal client. And it's just a matter of you coming up with the verbiage on the phone and learning to make that part of the phone conversation whenever somebody calls for an estimate. So I would just encourage you to have some qualifying questions, whatever they are for your business, and make sure that you stick to them, because you can just save yourself a whole lot of time by qualifying clients on the phone. When was the last time the property was serviced? Oh, well, it hasn't been cut this year. Well, you know what? We're not doing property cleanups right now at this time of the year. Or, hey, it's a 2-acre lot down here by the bay. Well, you're out of our service area and we don't service yards of that size. So you can let them down easy, but you need to come up with those questions so you can just save yourself a boatload of time, okay? That's the first tip that I would give you, is come up with some pre-qualifying questions. The second thing is, okay, maybe you have talked to them and it sounds like it's going to be a good fit, and you need to go out there and put eyes on the property. Now, here, I don't physically go out and put eyes on the property. We do too many estimates for me to drive around and go look at every single property. So I bid it online and I send out an estimate with a disclaimer in there. So basically, if we show up at your property after you've signed up and it is not what you said it was, we're not providing service. So there's a disclaimer in there. But not everybody does that. There are a lot of people that want to physically put eyes on property and walk the property. And I will tell you, if you have the time to do that and you are willing to do that, I think that is a good thing to do, especially if you are a solo guy just starting out. You have the time on your hands and you can really go out there and make sure this is going to be a good fit for your company. But let's say you get out there and it's in the neighborhood you want to be in, it's the right size property, but you pull up and you're just like, oh no, I'm not doing this, man. I can't cut a pure sand yard again, or that hill over there is just gonna be brutal to try and push mow in July and August. I'm not doing it. This is not something that I wanna do right now. How do you go about letting down the client at that point, okay? The first tip that I'm going to give you is you should try to go by the property whenever the client is not there, okay? You can set up a meeting, but just because your meeting and time to meet with them is at, 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, that don't mean that you can't drive over there Tuesday morning and put eyes on that place to let yourself know what you're getting into. Well, Jonathan, that's a waste of time. Well, you know what? It's really not, It's wasting the homeowner's time to finish up on that meeting if you know good and well by putting eyes on the property, it's not going to work for your company. So the first thing I would say is do a drive-by of that property and just make sure that it's something that you want to handle, okay? The homeowner does not. The first time you show up to a property, it's a lot more difficult whenever you are meeting with the homeowner the first time you're seeing the property. Arm yourself with some information by doing a drive-by and at least putting eyes on the property before you meet with the homeowner. Okay, you've already showed up at the property and there was no way to do a drive-by, but now you're there, they're expecting you, you pull up, and before you can pull off and let them down easy over the phone. They're sitting in their driveway with a cup of coffee waiting on you. So you pull up, and now it's time to do the talking. And this is where I want to tell you some of the things that I tell clients. Now look, you can't look at them dead in the face and say, you know what, your yard sucks. It's going to be horrible on my equipment, and frankly, there's no way that I would cut a yard this trashy. Like, even though that's what you're thinking in your head, like, you cannot tell people that. You have to be a little more diplomatic in your answers to them. And here are a few of the white lies that I tell people if I've ever found myself in that situation. Number one is you can just say, this is out of the scope of what we do, okay? And if they want to start asking questions, you know, you need to be able to say, hey, like this hill over here, my company does not use push mowers. You know, we're going to have to string trim this entire area over here. I'm not going to be able to give you an economical quote. You'd be better served by this company who utilizes this type of equipment, okay? So the first thing that I would say, you know, is this is out of the scope of what we do. And to that, the second thing that I say is, my equipment is not set up for this type of property, okay? This could be a property that is like really overgrown, or it could be, again, a really hilly property, but for whatever reason, there's some reason that you don't want to do this property. And by telling the client, you know, my equipment isn't set up to do this type of property, you would be better serviced by this company, and give them an alternative. But to that point, I want to say this: do not put off crap work to another company if you know that that company is not going to want that particular type job. There are some times whenever I have received referral work from other companies in the area, and dude, I'm like, I show up to the property to look at it, I'm like, dude, like, why in the world would you send that to me? Like, you don't want to do it because it's pure trash. Like, don't send it over here to me, you know, don't do that to your competitors in the area. If you have worked out something, you know, with another company who has a business in the area and they take on that type of work, or if they have equipment that is suited better for particular type properties, it's good to have a working relationship with those type of companies, but do not put the client off on another company who's going to go out there and not want to do that property, okay? So the first thing that I'll say is this is out of the scope of what we do, and the second excuse that I will give is our equipment is not suited for this type of property. You would be better served by company X, Y, and Z. So again, you need to have a clear picture of who your ideal client is for your market. Qualify them over the phone by asking when was the last time the property was cut and what size yard it is. Make sure it's in your service area, okay? That is like clutch. You have to do that, all right? Then, if you still need to go put eyes on this place based on the conversation, then if you can get out there before meeting the homeowner and just make sure that it truly is going to be a good fit for you. But if you get there with the homeowner and then realize, man, they're here, I've showed up, and this is not something that I want to take on, you know, you can let them down easy by saying, you know, this is out of the scope of what I do. Here's an alternative company. Or say, my equipment is not set up for this particular type yard. Here's an alternative company, okay? Just make sure the company that you're referring it to, that you're just not pawning off work to them that's no good work. Make sure that that company truly does want that type of work before you send it out, okay? So Trinity, man, I hope that helps you out, dude. I laughed whenever I got that email because I've been there. I just thought it was a great conversation piece. Let me know down in the comment section, what are some of the white lies you guys tell your customers?